Kaylee, we're going to the offensive line, your favorite spot, and a guy that we've talked about for the last couple of weeks that is one of the most sought after offensive linemen on the board who might soon be off the board.
Yes, Emmanuel Pregnon, obviously U.S. former offensive lineman at USC. We had talked about again, Ole Miss is definitely on the mind. We thought that Ole Miss, and definitely he's a Colorado native, that Colorado and Ole Miss would kind of be the early teams, but it looks again that it's not the case. Two teams that we've talked about that look to have the edge in this one. Pregnon was in Austin this past weekend talking with the Longhorns. We've heard that that visit really went well. But again, Oregon seems to be the heavy favorite in this one. So we're hearing that he's maybe close to a decision, like I said. But again, Tennessee is one of those other teams that also in the mix, that he's also made a, you know, has taken initiative to kind of go for his services again. So it looks like it's down to Texas, Oregon, and Tennessee. I think from all the ones that we looked at, obviously Tennessee seems to have the good pitch as far as making him an instant impact, and filling the immediate void for their interior offensive line. So I get right now when we're talking about the ability to play, obviously I think at any of those schools, especially at Oregon, they've definitely pitched him that he's going to be an instant impact player. But what makes most sense, Mark, in this situation is where Tennessee is looking to build that interior line, and his services definitely would be welcome. So that could be something that Tennessee's using as kind of an edge over Oregon and Texas. But again, he's fresh off a visit with the Longhorns and Steve Sarkisian, obviously. Not the way they intended that last playoff game to go. They thought they'd be playing for a natty, but unfortunately, but again, there's still a lot to sell down in Austin with Steve Sarkisian. So definitely, we're hearing that it could come as early as this evening, but maybe in the next couple of days. So that's definitely another recruitment that we'll be watching. Again, it looks like Tennessee, Texas, and Oregon are vying for a very highly touted offensive lineman in Emmanuel. Like I said, he fills an immediate void. He's only saw 13 starts this season, allowing 0 sacks at left guard, and 14 quarterback pressures. He was also at Miami. I mean, not Miami, at Wyoming. We're going to talk about Miami next, so they're on my mind. He was a number 3 guard in the Mountain West, and also made freshman All-American. Again, while he's been one of those players that we've talked about, hasn't really had a lot of time in the mix. Every time that he's been at the mix at both Wyoming along with his time at USC, he's always been one of those guys that's made an impact. And by making an impact at both schools, one of his notorious stats, I believe, is that he's had 0 sacks. So that says a lot, especially when you're playing the tackle. Like I said, doesn't matter what great quarterback you have if you don't have a strong tackle. And I think that's what makes a gentleman like Emmanuel Pregnon so much of an asset with teams like Oregon, Tennessee, and Texas. But for me, what makes the most sense, even though Oregon has the push, is Tennessee, because again, they're really looking to shape that interior offensive lineman. And Emmanuel Pregnon, from what we see and what we've seen in his past 2 stops, would be ideal to be a Vol. But again, Oregon looks like they have the edge in this one.